So, what if I told you that the oldest, like most mystical texts in human history aren't actually poetry at all?
Right. Which is a wild thought right out of the gate.
It really is. I mean, what if instead of metaphors and these spiritual fogs that you're just supposed to, blindly accept, we are actually looking at some of the world's oldest surviving IT manuals?
Yeah, an operating system from deep time.
Exactly. Because think about the expectations we usually bring to ancient scripture. We assume it's meant to be felt, right?
Mm.
We assume it requires you to just turn off your critical thinking and take a leap of faith into the dark.
But what happens when you apply a completely different lens to it? I mean, it changes the entire architecture of how we interact with the past.
It completely flips it.
Yeah. When you stop looking for magic and, start looking for mechanics, these texts that seemed like disjointed fables suddenly reveal themselves as highly structured encrypted operating systems.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. Welcome, everyone. We are taking on a genuinely paradigm-shifting book today by J.R. Ahmed called The Algebra of Revelation.
It is such a fascinating read.
It really is. And our mission for you today is to unlock one highly concentrated chapter in this book, which covers the ALR protocol. We're going to treat the Quran exactly as this author presents it, not as a collection of mystical verses, but as a literal black box from deep time that has just been cracked open.
And uh, if we're treating this as a black box, the first thing we really need to examine is its data log.
Right.
In this specific system, chapters 10 through 15, the surahs, they basically function as that log. Ahmed argues they aren't just, morality tales.
No, they're not fables.
Exactly. They are laboratory reports of human history. They operate as a forensic audit of why civilizations rise and why they just inevitably crash.
Okay, let's unpack this because the core analogy here is what really grabbed me.
Yep.
To understand these specific chapters, you have to understand the code header that opens them.
The ALR sequence.
Right. For those who might not know, several chapters in this ancient text open with just three disconnected Arabic letters, Alif, Lam, and Ra.
Which is, I mean, for centuries, scholars have just called them the disconnected letters or, mysteries.
Yeah, just mysteries. But Ahmed is saying, no, they are a literal hardware architecture. Think of Alif as the motherboard. It is the source, like the primary architect of the code.
It is the point of origin, the absolute, uncorrupted beginning of the data stream.
Exactly. Then you have LAM, and in this framework, LAM is the fiber optic cabling. It's the transmission, right? The physical data stream carrying that objective code from the motherboard down to the user.
Yeah, the connection.
And finally, you have RAW. RAW is the high-definition monitor. It is the observation. It's the empirical proof that the data has arrived intact and is actually executing correctly in the real world.
And what's fascinating here is the psychological shift this creates for you, the reader.
Oh, totally.
Because this ALR header, it establishes what the author calls architectural justice. It basically forcibly moves the user from a state of silent passive faith into this crisp staccato reality of historical verification.
It demands that you actively observe the output on the monitor.
Exactly. You have to look at the screen.
So, if we are booting up this system, where does it start? Because you can't just jump into auditing human history without verifying the baseline, right? Which brings us to Surah 10, Yunus. Ahmed calls this the initial observation module.
Yeah, and it serves a very specific diagnostic purpose. Because before the system can audit human history, it has to address a massive bug in human psychology.
We are so buggy.
We really are. We are wired to want magic. We desperately want supernatural miracle, oceans parting, fire from the sky, just to prove that a higher power exists.
Right, we want the rules of the universe to be broken just to comfort us.
Hi.
I mean, imagine you listening right now. Imagine you're given a flawlessly coded video game. The physics engine is spectacular. Gravity works perfectly. Thermodynamics are simulated flawlessly. Light refracts through water exactly as it should in reality.
It's a masterpiece.
Right. The developers spent years perfecting this code. But instead of appreciating this absolute masterpiece of programming, you're just sitting there ignoring the mechanics, mashing buttons, and complaining because you can't find a cheap cheat code to make your character fly through walls.
That is the exact frustration the text is addressing. It explicitly challenges that irrational human desire for the magical disruption of rules.
Yeah.
Instead, it deploys the row protocol observation. It points the auditor directly toward the mathematical constants of the cosmos.
Like the sun and the moon?
Yes, it identifies the sun as radiance and the moon as light, and specifically states these are established for calculating time. The Arabic term used is izab, which literally means calculation or accounting or mathematics.
But wait, why would an ancient spiritual text care about mathematical constants? I mean, if the goal is spiritual enlightenment, why are we talking about the orbital mechanics of the moon?
Because in this operating system, the physical mechanics of the universe are the Enlightenment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the text uses the command unuru, which means to look or to rigorously observe. It asserts that faith isn't a blind leap at all. It is meant to be an empirical conclusion based on observable, repeating data points.
So the math is the proof.
Exactly. The flawless, predictable mathematical reality of celestial motion is the high-def monitor, the Ra, proving that the source code, the Alif, is real and actively running.
All right, so the physical universe is the baseline. The physics engine is flawless. But what happens when you introduce the human element? Because planets don't have free will. People do.
And people are messy.
Very messy. Humans introduce chaos. So how does this operating system account for the messiness of human societies?
Well, it scales the exact same laws up to human behavior. This brings us to Surah 11, Hudud. Ahmed frames this as the sociological audit.
Okay.
If the cosmos runs on strict mathematical laws, human societies run on the thermodynamic laws of social stability. And just like gravity or, orbital mechanics, the laws of societal collapse can be observed and calculated.
And the output of this audit is starkly binary, which I found incredibly chilling.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the book describes the text's view of past civilizations, these massive, impenetrable empires like Aid and Thamud, and it categorizes their final state visually. The cities are either standing, this Arabic word is I'm, or they are mown down Haid.
It's purely binary.
It reads exactly like a binary 1 or 0. There is no middle ground. That implies history isn't just a series of random tragedies or bad luck, but an actual laboratory report of cause and effect.
The text is demanding that you use your forensic eye to look at the wreckage of these societies as data.
Right.
The ALR equation here proves that when a society breaks the Lam, when it severs the transmission of objective law and justice from the Aleph, it introduces fatal friction into its own system.
It corrupts the code.
Exactly. When subjective, corrupted human laws replace the objective code, the society is inevitably, mechanically, mown down by its own entropy. Systemic corruption guarantees systemic collapse.
So it's not an angry deity throwing lightning bolts from the clouds because people misbehaved. It's an empire hitting the structural limits of its corrupted code and simply crashing under its own weight.
Precisely. The ruins of these ancient cities are the empirical evidence, the output on the monitor left behind for us to audit. It's a physical warning about software degradation.
Which naturally leads to the next problem, because if macroscopic collapse is inevitable when the societal code is broken, what about me?
The individual.
Yeah, if I'm an individual node in a network that is crashing, am I just collateral damage? Does the system have a survival protocol for the individual?
It does, actually. And that protocol is detailed in Surah 12, which is the story of Yusuf, or Joseph.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Usually the story of Joseph is taught as this sweeping melodrama, right?
Yeah, a total soap opera.
Exactly. It's a story about a boy betrayed by his jealous brothers, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, and eventually rising to become a powerful vizier in Egypt. But Ahmed deconstructs this entirely. In the ALR framework, it's not a drama at all.
Not at all.
It's an audit of process, perception, and macroeconomic forecasting.
It is the ultimate case study of how an individual node survives severe, hostile environmental noise.
Let's look at the very beginning of the story. It starts with Yusuf having a dream about the sun, moon, and stars bowing to him. But in this framework, it's not just a mystical dream, it's a data packet.
Yes, a vision, a ruya.
Right. And what is his father's immediate reaction? He doesn't celebrate. He says, "Do not relate your vision to your brothers." When I read this, my mind instantly went to cybersecurity.
Oh, that's a great connection.
His father is initiating an information security protocol. He's basically saying, hide the data packet because the environmental noise, in this case your brother's jealousy, will corrupt the transmission before it has a chance to execute.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire narrative of Yusuf is a tracing of that transmission, the Lam, as it pushes through intense systemic friction. I mean, Yusuf goes from his father's house to the bottom of a well, into slavery, into a prison, and finally into the palace.
But wait, how do a well and a prison fit into a hardware analogy? Because those sound like punishments, not IT concepts.
Think of them as environmental filters or like quarantine zones.
Oh, interesting.
The society of Egypt at the time was deeply corrupt. It was running on bad code. The prison isolates the node. It removes Yusuf from the corrupted societal network so that his processing power isn't drained by all that ambient noise.
So he's off the grid.
Exactly. And in that isolation, his ability to process data is refined until it reaches the ultimate goal of the ALR sequence, which is Badra.
Insight.
Yes. Badra is the highest functioning level of observation. It's the ability to see through immediate distress and calculate the long-term systemic outcome. And we see this peak when Yusuf deciphers the king's dream of the 7 fat cows being eaten by the 7 lean cows.
The ultimate macroeconomic forecast.
Yes.
The king is just seeing a scary dream, but Yusuf looks at it and sees a systemic threat. He sees a massive incoming famine. He uses the Ra protocol not just to observe the physical world in the present, but to accurately perceive the future output.
And then he acts on it.
Right. He applies this data to resource management. He creates a 14-year plan to store grain during the years of plenty to survive the years of scarcity.
He essentially patches the collapsing Egyptian economy using insight derived from the uncorrupted transmission. He saves the system from the inside.
Okay, so Baya Insight keeps the individual node alive, and it can even temporarily patch a failing system. But you can't build a sustainable civilization on just one guy surviving a famine, you know?
You need more than that.
How do you reboot the macro system? You need a new foundation entirely.
Which is exactly why the sequence moves to Surah 14, Ibrahim. Ahmed refers to this as the hardware installation or the luminosity protocol.
The goal here is bringing a society from unobserved entropy, which the text calls darkness, into calibrated order, which it calls light. But here the text uses a biological metaphor, and I have to admit, I initially tripped up on this.
It can be a bit jarring at first.
Yeah, because it says a good word is like a good tree with firmly fixed roots and branches reaching into the sky. And a bad word is like an uprooted tree with zero stability on the earth. I was thinking, wait, we jumped from motherboards and data packets to trees.
Right, like we suddenly switched genres.
Exactly. Are we just mixing metaphors here, or is there a functional link I'm missing?
It's actually not a mixed metaphor at all. It's an elegant description of how code behaves as it scales. Think about how a tree grows. It is a fractal execution of DNA, which is foundational code.
Right, I see.
A good word is an uncorrupted data packet. If your foundational definitions, like your societal concepts of justice, value, and truth, are firmly rooted in the source, your society's stable. It grows organically, it branches out, it produces fruit. It thrives because its internal code aligns with the objective reality of the universe.
And a bad word is a corrupted packet.
Exactly. If your foundational definitions are corrupt, your society is an uprooted tree. I mean, it might look big and intimidating lying there on the ground, but it has no systemic stability.
It's basically dead already.
Right. It cannot draw nutrients. It will collapse and wither at the first sign of environmental stress because its code is completely detached from reality.
So to ensure that foundational code stays pure, we see the figure of Ibrahim perform what Ahmed calls a literal hardware installation.
Yes.
Ibrahim prays, and he leaves his descendants in an uncultivated valley near the sacred house. But why an uncultivated, barren valley? Why not a lush, thriving city?
Because a thriving city is full of legacy code and pre-existing societal noise. An uncultivated valley is a zero-variable environment.
A clean room. Like when tech companies manufacture microchips, they need an environment completely free of dust or static.
That is the perfect way to look at it. Ibrahim is isolating the central processor from the corrupting noise of surrounding civilizations. He is establishing a secure, interference-free base, so the LAM, the transmission, can be received, processed, and broadcasted with absolutely zero environmental distortion.
Okay, but here's the million-dollar question, and I think this is where the whole operating system theory really gets put to the test. Let's say you've built the perfect foundation. You've set up your secure base in the clean room.
Right.
How does the source protect that data link from being hacked over the course of centuries? Systems degrade, language drifts, people alter text for political gain. Entropy is a universal law. So how do you stop a 1,400-year-old system from suffering catastrophic data decay?
This raises an incredibly important question about the nature of true security, and it's the exact focus of Surah 15, Al-Hijr. This is the audit of information security.
And the case study provided here is fascinating. It talks about the stoneworkers, the Anu Aliyar. These were historical people who literally carved their houses out of solid mountains.
Talk about a physical firewall.
Right. They felt completely unconditionally secure. I mean, it's like a modern billionaire building an impenetrable doomsday bunker in New Zealand, but forgetting to secure his Wi-Fi password. The stoneworkers had the ultimate physical firewall, but they were entirely wiped out.
They failed the security audit because they made a fatal architectural error. They turned off their raw hardware. They completely shut down their observation of systemic truth.
They got arrogant.
Yes, they assumed that physical rock could protect them from the thermodynamic collapse of their own societal software. The text uses their ruins to point out that true security isn't a physical wall, an army, or a mountain.
So what is it?
True security is found solely in the structural integrity of the code itself. The threat wasn't coming from outside the mountain. It was coming from the corruption within their network.
But wait, earlier you mentioned a mathematical lock. If physical firewalls don't work, how is the actual code of this ancient text protected? I mean, how does an operating system made of Arabic words reject corrupted code like a computer does?
Well, the text explicitly refers to the 7 oft-repeated verses. In Ahmed's analysis, this isn't just a reference to a daily prayer. It is a description of a fractal, repeating mathematical lock woven into the linguistics of the text itself.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Think of it like a checksum in modern computing. When you download a file, a checksum is a small string of data that verifies the entire file is intact. If even 1 byte is altered by a hacker, the checksum won't match, and the system rejects the file.
So the language itself acts as the checksum.
Yes, the guardianship of the text isn't reliant entirely on human beings memorizing it because, well, humans are fallible. The guardianship is a functional property of the mathematics of the text itself.
That is mind-blowing.
It's a fractal structure based on specific root words and numerical repetitions. If a human tries to add noise, alter a verse, or distort the code for political power, the mathematical fractal breaks. The internal rhythm and numerical balance instantly highlight the tampering. It is a self-preserving mechanism against entropy.
So, what does this all mean? We've traced this incredible journey through these laboratory reports. We started with the ALR header, and it's abundantly clear now that this isn't just a mystical chant to open a prayer.
Not at all.
It is a version header. It marks a definitive shift in the operating system from theory to empirical proof. And even the acoustic reality of those letters serves a purpose, right?
Absolutely. Think about the physical act of saying it out loud. Alif Lam, raw. Ending on that rolling, expansive raw sound physically forces the listener's cognitive focus outward.
It pushes you out into the world.
Yes, it doesn't let you retreat into your own head.
Yeah.
It demands that your eyes open and actively observe the external world, the history, the economies, the cosmic math. It explicitly, fundamentally eliminates blind faith.
It basically says, don't just sit in the dark and feel this. Look at the math. Audit the ruins. Check the output on the monitor.
And this reframes everything for you, the listener. Because if this text is an operating system and the universe is the hardware, then you're a node processing data on that system right now.
Wow.
It forces a deeply personal audit. Are you looking at the laboratory reports of your own life with empirical vision? Are you operating with Bada, with long-term insight? Or are you just reacting to short-term panic?
Are your roots actually deep?
Exactly. Are the foundational definitions of your life firmly rooted like that good tree? Or are they built on the environmental noise of whatever is trending today?
Which leaves us with a thought that I honestly haven't been able to shake since reading this. We spent this whole time talking about ancient history, about stoneworkers and pharaohs and uncultivated valleys.
Yeah.
But if this ancient text demands that we view societal collapse and structural integrity as an observable mechanical operating system, what happens when we apply this exact forensic audit to our modern, hyper-connected digital society?
Oh, man. It is the ultimate stress test for our era.
Think about it. We are absolutely drowning in data packets. We are obsessed with building physical security. I mean, we have massive temperature-controlled server farms, unbreakable firewalls, billion-dollar tech campuses. We think we are invincible.
Just like the stoneworkers.
Exactly. But are we actually building firmly rooted trees of data? Or have we just become the new stoneworkers? Are we relying entirely on the physical security of our technology while remaining completely dangerously blind to the systemic decay in our own societal code?
As the text makes clear, a physical firewall cannot save an uprooted tree.
The monitor is on, the rise displaying the output, history is giving us the data. The only question left is, are we actually looking at the screen?